Connotation often works through the idea of metaphor and metonym. And that's what I'd like now to spend some time talking about, metaphor and metonym and how they create meaning. Metaphor might be familiar to you from previous studies of literature or poetry, or if you've done some previous study of film or visual art. Metaphor refers to a sign that represents something other than itself. A metaphor expresses the unfamiliar by using the familiar, and because of that, it simultaneously relies on similarity and difference in order to create meaning. This photo is an ad for Durex condoms. We have the hard hat serving as a metaphor for the condom itself. We look at the hard hat and there are a set of connotations that come to mind. It will protect you from danger, it will keep you safe, it is reliable. We want all the same things in a condom because that's why you're using it. You're using a condom in order to either prevent pregnancy, disease, or both. So the meaning of the hard hat works metaphorically to support the connotations that the advertiser wants attached to Durex condoms. In most circumstances, visual metaphors do not draw attention to themselves as metaphors, and they're seen as natural. Now, that's probably not the case with this example. And in some of the examples that we're going to have a look at over the course of the module, for illustrative purposes, they're not particularly subtle. Certainly, I don't think once you sort of get underneath the meaning that there's nothing very subtle about this Durex condom ad. But under most circumstances, visual metaphors don't draw attention to themselves as metaphors, and we see them as natural. As such, metaphors are a very powerful method in which certain ways of seeing the world are made to appear natural. This has ideological implications, and over the coming weeks, using semiotic analysis, we're going to begin to question the ways in which media represents certain aspects of the world as natural or common sense, when in fact there's nothing natural about them at all. So metaphor is a very important element of understanding the media's ideological power. Let's have a look at some more metaphors. This is an ad for Accenture, which is a financial services and accounting firm, a firm that will do your company's accounting and taxes. Here, we've got a very curious, interesting and funny, but also powerful metaphor, our elephant riding the surfboard. Let's think about some of the connotations suggested by this image. When we think of an elephant, we think of something that's big and powerful, but also rather clumsy. Now, whether this is actually true or not doesn't matter. We commonly think of elephants because of their size as clumsy. We certainly wouldn't normally associate elephants with riding surfboards. So here we have a juxtaposition between the elephant and the surfboard. The elephant looks like it's riding the surfboard very happily. So we've got that big and powerful, but also quite nimble, agile, athletic, and energetic creature. Now that metaphor of the elephant riding the surfboard and all those connotations of power and agility at the same time transfer across to our understanding of Accenture as a financial services company. Accenture is big and powerful, but it's also agile and nimble enough to be able to look after you and give your company the personal service that it needs. It's a really fun and very clever way of representing those connotations because let's face it, an accounting or financial services firm is perhaps not the most exciting business in the world. Also, following the global financial crisis of 2008, a number of accounting firms, banks and financial services companies didn't come away with very good reputations. Using an animal behaving in a quirky and cute way also works metaphorically to suggest that this company is fun, it's kind of nice, because in most contexts, we generally attach positive signifiers towards elephants. And it's because of those signifiers that advertising companies use animals as metaphors in advertising for companies that often cop a lot of flack. We're not very likely to look at this Optus ad and think badly about the company. even though we may have had shoddy service from them, poor internet connections, bad phone service, or we've been overbilled and you need to ring their call center and you've got to stay on the line for 3 hours, all those sorts of things. But the use of animals here metaphorically creates a suggestion that Optus is a gentle, kind, caring company. If we look at the big elephant leading the smaller ones, all hanging on to each other's tails, there is a connotation that this is a company that will look after the little people and that we're all in this together. So for businesses such as banks and phone companies that often have quite poor reputations, the use of animals can be quite a powerful metaphor. Here we have another metaphor, which is about as subtle as the proverbial sledgehammer. The bottle of Sky vodka is very strategically placed over the crotch of the man, who, judging by the bits of body that we can see, is pretty fit, and the woman's hand placed on the bottle of vodka suggests she's going to be using it or maneuvering her hand in a particular way. Now, I'm trying to dance around the idea that this ad looks like the woman is giving the man a hand job, which of course is the intention of the image. The bottle here very clearly represents a metaphor for this man's erect penis and the connotation of sexual excitement, desire, and pleasure that go into that situation get attached to the bottle of vodka. So, the idea is that if you drink Sky vodka and you're a male, good things are going to happen to you. This type of metaphor is certainly not very subtle, but it's a common one and one often used in food and alcohol advertising. Here's our final version of a metaphor in advertising. I've included this one because I just don't think it works very well, or at least it doesn't work very well for me. This ad features a metaphoric representation of a McDonald's fillet of fish, and the image is a fish tank or a fish bowl in the shape of the burger with a goldfish swimming inside. The idea is that the goldfish is a metaphor for the freshness of the hamburger. The fillet of fish is a freshly made burger with fresh fish, and as such, it's something you would want to buy and eat. However, the problem for me is the choice of fish. We keep goldfish as pets. We don't eat them. So for me, at least, the idea of eating a goldfish is really kind of gross. At best, eating a goldfish is a dumb prank that people play at parties when you've maybe had a little bit too much to drink. The idea that a goldfish is part of your McDonald's hamburger, I'm not really okay with that at all. There are also elements of metonym in that previous ad from McDonald's. So I want to pick up on the idea of metonym and explain how it differs from metaphor and how it works to create connotative meaning. A metonym is where signs are used in such a way that a part is used to stand for the whole. If we think back to the previous module on signs and signification, we can see that metonyms operate indexically. Remember, an index is a sign that points to something other than itself. Let's have a look at some examples. I've chosen food advertisements again because food ads are rich in both metaphor and metonym. We've got another Macca's ad here, and I think this one works a little better than the previous fillet of fish example. This is an ad for a chicken burger with the wrappers made to look like a chicken. We have this idea that the chicken stands for or represents the whole of the burger, and that creates the connotative meaning that it's fresh and that it's something we'd want to eat. Certainly, the idea I think is cemented by the crumbs there, so the burger has just been eaten. The use of the chicken to signify freshness is powerful because McDonald's is regularly criticised for being processed food, and there are all sorts of urban legends about the kind of junk that's in McDonald's burgers and food generally. But here, McDonald's are responding to that by using the metonym of the chicken to represent the entirety of the burger. Our other ad is a San Remo pasta ad and the wheat field there. We know the main ingredient of pasta is wheat, so the idea of showing the wheat field again works metonymically to suggest San Remo pasta is natural, it's made up of wheat, and it's good to eat. The slogan the difference between good pasta and great pasta helps us make that association between wheat and the quality of San Remo pasta. We can also look more carefully at this ad and see that in the clear part of the cellophane packet, where the pasta would normally be, we can see that the wheat field is in the background. Again, that's helping to establish that metonymic relationship that the wheat is just naturally part of the packaged spaghetti here. This ad works to create a very important set of connotations which sells San Remo spaghetti as natural and therefore the pasta you should choose. This is a great example I just stumbled across in my searching for various ads. It's a coffee company. Now, I don't know where it's from, but I think it's a great ad because it combines metaphor and metonym very well. In terms of metaphor, we've got the syringe, which alludes to the idea of our caffeine fix or our caffeine hit, drawing parallels with drug use. That metaphor works to create a set of connotations that this is very powerful coffee. This is coffee that's full of caffeine and it's going to give you the hit that you need. The syringe works as a metaphor for the types of impact the coffee will have on you, but that's juxtaposed with the coffee beans, which suggests naturalness. So you are getting a natural coffee hit. The metonym of the beans works very powerfully to establish this naturalness. All this coffee is made up from is coffee, and if you drink it, it's going to give you a very powerful caffeine hit.